She came in on the back of a rattling supply wagon just before dust coat too thin, boots near splitting, eyes carrying something heavier than anything she owned. Folks noticed, but no one spoke, all except one. Elias Boone stood outside the livery, broad-shouldered and still as a fence post, watching her step down. His hands were rough with years of work, but his gaze quiet, measuring had seen more pain than most men cared to remember. "She ain't from around here," muttered the stable boy. Elias didn't answer, just kept watching. The girl moved like a shadow trying not to exist. She kept her chin low, flinched at sudden sounds, and avoided the eyes of every man in town. That told him enough. The saloon was loud that night, piano keys clashing, whiskey glasses knocking, but in the far corner she sat alone, her fingers wrapped around a tin cup she hadn't touched. Elias approached slow, like you would a wounded horse. "You planning on freezing that drink to death?" he said quietly. "Or you gonna use it?" She looked up, startled. For a moment, fear flashed so sharp in her eyes it could have cut glass. I don't drink," she said. Her voice trembled like it wasn't used to being heard. Elias nodded once. "Name?" She hesitated. "Clara." A lie. He could tell, but he let it pass. "Town like this," he said, pulling out a chair. "It'll eat you alive if you don't find somewhere to stand." She swallowed hard. "I don't have anywhere else to go." There it was, not the words, but what sat behind them. Elias leaned back, studying her. Dust clung to her sleeves, but it wasn't the road that marked her. And it was the way she held herself like the world had taken too much already. "You running from something?" he said. Her grip tightened on the cup. A long silence stretched between them, thick as desert heat. Then finally, "I didn't run," she whispered. "I escaped." The piano faltered for a beat, like the whole room felt it. Elias didn't push, just waited. And after a long, trembling breath, she spoke again. "My home wasn't safe." Her voice cracked on the last word. She didn't say more, but she didn't need to. Elias's jaw tightened, a slow storm building behind his eyes. "Who hurt you?" he asked. She shook her head fast, panic rising. "He'll find me if I say it. He always does." Elias leaned forward, voice low and steady. "Not here," he said. "Not while I'm breathing." Something in that simple, certain broke through her fear. And her eyes filled, but she held them steady on him. "You don't know what you're saying." "Don't need to," Elias replied. "I know men like that." Silence again. Then, barely above a whisper, "He was supposed to protect me." The words hung there, heavy and unfinished. Elias closed his eyes for a moment, and when he opened them, there was no hesitation left in them, just decision. By morning, Dry Creek felt different, quieter, like it was holding its breath. Clara stood outside Elias Boone's ranch on the edge of town, the land stretching wide and unforgiving. It wasn't much, but it was safe, or at least, it felt that way. "You can stay here," Elias said, handing her a worn blanket. "No one comes this far unless they've got business with me." She nodded, still unsure how to trust something that didn't come with a price. Why are you helping me?" she asked. Elias paused. "Because someone should have done it sooner." 3 days passed. 3 days of quiet work, shared meals, and careful distance. 3 days where Clara started to breathe again. Until the riders came. Dust rose in the distance. First, then shapes, then men. 4 of them. And at the front, a man with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Clara saw him from the porch, and the world dropped out from under her. "That's him," she whispered, voice hollow. "That's the man I told you about." Elias stepped beside her, gaze locking onto the riders. His hand rested near his holster, but he didn't draw. Not yet. "You go inside," he said. "No, I said inside." Something in his voice, firm, unshakable, made her listen. The door shut behind her with a quiet click, and the riders pulled up slow, boots hitting dirt with deliberate weight. "Well now," the man at the front said, looking Elias over. "You got something that belongs to me." Elias didn't move. "Don't reckon I do." The man smiled wider. "Girl came through here. She's mine." Elias's eyes darkened. "People ain't property." The smile vanished. "Careful, rancher," the man said, stepping closer. "You don't know who you're crossing." Elias tilted his head slightly. "No," he said. "I know exactly what you are." Silence snapped tight between them. Then gunmetal flashed. But it wasn't chaos. It was quick, clean, final. Elias moved like a man who'd made peace with violence long ago and only used it when there was no other choice. When the dust settled, the riders weren't standing anymore. Clara stepped out slowly, trembling. As she looked at the ground, then at Elias. You didn't have to." "Yes," he said quietly. "I did." Her eyes filled again, but this time, something else was there too. Relief. For the first time in a long while, she wasn't looking over her shoulder. Days turned into weeks. The ranch grew warmer, quieter. Clara laughed once soft, uncertain, but real. Elias heard it from across the yard and smiled without turning around. Some wounds didn't vanish, but they could heal slowly. Under open skies, in honest work, and in the presence of someone who chose to stand when it mattered most. And out in Dry Creek, folks would later say that was the day something changed. Not just for her, but for all of them. Because sometimes, the unthinkable thing ain't violence. So sometimes, it's choosing to protect someone when the world has already decided not to. Thanks for staying to the end. Where are you watching from?